Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Good morning everyone. What are you up to? Well, today we meet again in linguistic class. Our topic today are the summary of the 4 topics have been discussed before, namely linguistics, varieties, and multilingual nation, national languages and language planning, regional and social dialogue, and language change. Well, the title we give is linguistic varieties and multilingual nation in the context of society 5.0. Linguistic varieties and multilingual nations. In multilingual nation, linguistic diversity is a defining characteristic that shapes societal interaction, cultural identities, and national development. The study of linguistic varieties encompasses various forms of language use, including vernacular languages, standard languages, lingua francas, pidgin and creoles, and national languages. These linguistic forms reflect historical, social, and political forces which also contribute to language change and influence the character of the nation. Referring to these issues, Janet Holmes, in her book An Introduction to Sociolinguistics, explained that linguistic varieties refer to the different form of language used by individual or group in different social contexts. The first is vernacular. Vernacular languages often considered the native or home languages of a community. These languages are deeply rooted in cultural and regional identities. These languages represent the informal, everyday speech of individuals and are crucial in maintaining cultural heritage. Factors such as migration, urbanization, and education often lead to shift in the use of prominence of vernacular. For example, Japanese in Indonesia, once dominant in informal settings, has seen a decline in urban areas due to the growing use of Bahasa Indonesia and global languages like English. A scholar like Noam Chomsky emphasized the cognitive importance of language in shaping individual thought, while Islamic scholars such as Al-Farabi highlight its ethical dimension and its role in fostering moral communities. Here are the examples of vernaculars in both Banjaris and in African American vernacular English. Vernacular from Banjaris like, "Sungsung kapian datang?" This means, "Did you come earlier?" And from the AAVE, "She be working late, all work." So I use be instead of is here. Yeah, it is the feature of vernacular of AAP. Next is standard language. Standard languages are codified form of language used for formal communication, education, and governance. They often emerge from deliberate language planning and serve as a symbol of national unity, historical event, government policies, and the need for efficient administration drive the adoption of standard languages. For example, Bahasa Indonesia was adopted as the national language to unify diverse linguistics. In this case, Ibnu Khaldun, an Islamic scholar, highlighted the importance of a unified language in maintaining societal cohesion, aligning with Ferdinand de Saussure's linguistic theories on the structural role of language in society group. For example, in Indonesian standard language, ayah berangkat ke Mekah tadi pagi. Means my father left for Mecca this morning. In standard English, it said she has been working late all week. The next is lingua franca. Lingua franca such as English, Swahili, and Arabic facilitate communication across diverse linguistic communities. These languages play pivotal roles in trade, education, and diplomacy. For example, English functions as the global language of technology and academic, while Arabic serves as a religious lingua franca for Muslims worldwide. Historical records such as those from Ibnu Battuta illustrate the role of lingua francas in enabling cultural exchange, a phenomenon also studied by Edward Sapir, who examined how languages influence all lives. This has also happened in Indonesia, where Indonesia is the most populous country, which derived from different ethnic groups who speak different languages. Indonesian people use Bahasa Indonesia as a lingua franca to communicate among the different tribes and different vernacular languages. For example, people from Papua and Java communicate using Bahasa Indonesia because both ethnic groups have different vernaculars, and of course it is difficult for two cultural difference to communicate each other one another, so they use Bahasa Indonesia. Like English is the language we use at international conferences because it's become an international language where people all over the world speak different languages. Of course, we use English as the lingua franca. The next is Pidgin or Creole. Pigeons and Creole may be difficult to find in this modern era because it's born from contact between linguistic groups, exemplify human adaptability in communication. Pidgin are simplified languages used for specific purposes, such as trade, while Creole evolved into fully developed languages spoken natively by communities. Like Haitian Creole, Derek Bickerton's research highlights Creole formation as a sociolinguistic forces, while Islamic perspective emphasizes linguistic interaction in fostering understanding as supported by Quranic principles on the diversity of languages and people. That is information in the Quran 49 verse 13 about the diversity of languages and peoples. Here is the example of pigeon. Baimbe you go. It is a pigeon from Tokpisin. Means you will go. And Creole from Jamaican Patois. This is say me go shop later. It means I'm going to the shop later. Sorry if I am reading it incorrectly, because I just quoted from the from Janet Holmes' book. So sorry if I make mistake in reading it. National languages designed for official use and national identity often emerge from deliberate language planning. This process involves standardizing language form, promoting literacy, and addressing linguistic equity. In Indonesia, for example, language planning efforts elevated Bahasa Indonesia as a tool for unifying linguistically diverse population. Linguist Joshua Pisman work discusses the socio-political dimension of such planning, while Al-Ghazali writing stressed the ethical use of language in promoting societal harmony. Janet Holmes further explained that language planning involves deliberate effort to influence how languages are used in a society. In this case, Holmes divides it into three. The first is status planning, the second is corpus planning, and the third is acquisition planning. The status planning, deciding which languages hold official or national status. On the other hand, the corpus planning, standardizing spelling, grammar, and vocabulary, and acquisition planning, integrated language into educational system. So, a national language is a symbol of national identity and unity. Here are some examples of these three terms. The first is status planning. In Indonesia, Bahasa Indonesia has been a national language since the 1922 Youth Pledge. And then about the corpus planning, in Indonesia, the spelling of cinta was changed into cinta as part of modernization. And in case of acquisition planning, in Indonesia, children begin learning Bahasa Indonesia from their early age. So their first language, many Indonesian people, beside vernacular of their mother tongue, most of them use Bahasa Indonesia as the mother tongue. At least children begin learning Bahasa Indonesia from kindergarten. How about in English-speaking countries? In Ireland, Irish is taught in school, although English is used more widely. In Canada, both English and French appear on government documents. Regional and social dialect. According to Janet Holmes, regional dialects vary by geographic location, while social dialects are influenced by class, profession, gender, and education. Holmes emphasized that all dialects have consistent and valid grammar system regardless of social status. Here are some examples you can see from Indonesia. The first is regional dialect from Bugis. Boleh kaya means where have we been? Why it's social dialect from Jakarta Selatan style. Literally, dia tuh kayak super random gitu loh. It means literally he is like super random. How about in English-speaking countries? Regional dialect like in Georgia, Newcastle, UK, like Hawaii man say, let's go down the pub. Come on, let's go in the pub. While in social dialect of AAPE, it say he ain't got the time for that. It means he doesn't have time for that. Language change. Language change, based on Janet Holmes' point of view, is a natural process caused by cultural contact, technological innovation, and generational shift. Changes occur in phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics. When you talk about phonology, it means that you refer to sound of the language. When you talk about morphology, it's referred to the word structure of the language. And for the syntax, it's referring to sentence structure of the language, and semantics referring to the meaning. Holmes argued that language change is not decay, but a reflection of sociocultural evolution. Talking about language change, language is inherently dynamic, evolving due to sociocultural, economic, and technological influences. Several factors drive language change. So, what factors drive the language change? So, here I explain 4 factors that causes language change. The first is globalization. The second is migration. The third is cultural exchange. And the fourth is education and policy. Why we say globalization causes language change? Because globalization exposure to foreign cultures and languages through media, travel, and trade. They often lead to borrowing and code switching. For instance, Indonesian youth frequently mix Bahasa Indonesia with English terms in casual conversation. The second is migration. Why migration can change the language? Because movement of population lead to linguistic convergence and divergence. For example, Arabic spread through trade and religion has influenced many languages in Africa and Asia. And the third is cultural exchange. This case also make language change, or this also causes language change. Historical interactions such as thought during the Islamic Golden Age resulted in the integration of Arabic vocabulary into Persian, Urdu, and Malay. Also, the social media nowadays has causes cultural exchange among the teenager, or that makes their language change. And the last is education and policy. Language standardization and schooling practice often shape linguistic norm, as in with Mandarin's promotion in China, and many more. There are many examples of language change in society we can find nowadays. For example, the incorporation of English technical terms into Bahasa Indonesia like transformasi, digitalisasi, and investasi, and etc. The second is the simplification of traditional greetings in urban settings, such as shift from Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to a shortened salam. So now, many people just say salam instead of saying Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The third is the blending of Javanese and Bahasa Indonesia in informal context, creating hybrid phrases like aku wes ngerti. It means I already understand. As also the blending of Bahasa Indonesia and Buginese, and also Bahasa Indonesia and Banjaris, like in Banjaris saying kada paham aku, or in Buginese saying dek pau paham ngi. So these two languages are the combination of or the blending between the vernacular and the national language. Both means I don't understand. Other examples in modern Indonesian slang like gua udah nge-save filenya kok. It means I've already saved the file. Or another will say, lu udah nge-like postman itu belum? Lu udah nge-like postingan itu belum? Or it means, have you liked that post yet? Old versus new spelling of uang. The old language say oyang. It became uang. It means money. How about in English-speaking countries? In English-speaking countries, there's lexical change like at sick. It means that's awesome. Or you say, I'm literally dying. Used to express amusement, not actual death. And the next is grammatical simplifications. Like, I'm gonna go from I'm going to go. It is informal contraction. Summary table. Well, everyone, for this slide, I just want to show you about the summary table we've been discussing. You can see here about the topic, the linguistic varieties, national languages and planning, regional and social dialect, and language change. Okay, now let's come to the conclusion. Well, everyone, so what can we conclude for today's meeting? Right, so linguistic varieties in multilingual nations are shaped by historical, social, and political factors. Their evolutions reflect broader societal changes and influences national characters. By understanding the dynamic of vernacular languages, standard languages, lingua franca, pidgin and creole, and national languages, societies can foster inclusivity and resilience. Both Western and Islamic scholarly perspectives highlight the importance of linguistic diversity as a cornerstone of cultural and intercultural development. Alright, everyone, I think I talked too much. I do hope that you are not getting bored listening to my explanation. So, thank you very much for your attention. I do hope that this video can give you a little knowledge and make you understand about what I'm talking. Just enjoy yourself. Once again, thank you very much for your attention. Keep healthy, keep learning, keep going on your best attitude to all people or all creatures around you. Let's close our meeting today by saying Alhamdulillah together. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Thank you for your nice attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.